Good evening, good late at night, good morning for some people where we are here at Huntington Bank Stadium. It is still not quite midnight, so we are here. We just finished up in the post-game press conference with Ohio State head coach Ryan Day and some of the players following the Buckeyes. I don't want to say big win, but an important win against Minnesota. The Buckeyes come out with a 2-touchdown victory, but Steve, at points in this game, it didn't really feel like it was going to be that big of a margin. And at some points, people were kind of concerned that the Buckeyes weren't going to come out with the win at all. You were down on the field for the game. Just kind of take us through the vibe down there and just kind of your thoughts as the game played out.
I saw a team that was very businesslike in how they approached this game, and there were a lot of ups and downs and back and forths in this game. As anybody who watched it saw, I think there were 4 lead changes in this game. So a lot of things happened in the course of a 60-minute college football game, and a little bit of everything happened here tonight. I think what we have to understand, and Ryan Day talked about this after the game, they come out of here tonight with a 45-31 win, 2-touchdown win, and a Big Ten road win. Anytime you get that, you just take it and go on to the next week or whatever, which next week is Oregon, which is going to be another outstanding challenge. They'll play Fresno State on Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern time on Pac-12 Network for anybody that wants to scout the Ducks. But the issue is, I mean, you think about where this team is at right now. This was a quarterback, C.J. Stroud, who threw his first career pass tonight. Although he had played in 3 games last year and had run the football at times, he had never thrown a pass in a live game till tonight. And predictably, they got him going early with the swing pass.
Which is crazy to think about, I mean, you think about
first time since 1952, Ohio State went into a season without a player who had completed a pass at any point in their college career.
Right, and you think about, Ohio State's not the only team in the country breaking a new quarterback. Yeah. I mean, even, Alabama, Clemson, But
those guys have played.
They've played, yeah.
Yeah, those guys have thrown passes in live games.
Right. Ohio State had such a strange year last year with the shortened schedule and the way the games worked out.
Yeah.
They just didn't have the time to get them in there and, any of those quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
So at any rate, you had the new quarterback, and he by his own admission was not locked in the first half. He struggled a little bit to gain his footing. And his teammates kept him in it. His coaches kept him in it. In the second half, the conditions were worse. It was actually raining in the second half. In the first half, it was just kind of sprinkling. There'd be a little drop here or there, and maybe the ball got a little bit wet at times. In the second half, it was a wet ball. It was raining. And so he played much better in the second half. Hit a couple big plays. Hit a couple short plays that turned into big plays, which are always nice. And then on the other side, on defense, what we saw tonight was a front 4 on defense that eventually chipped away, and finally made the big play with Zach Harrison knocking the ball away and Haskell Garrett returning it for the touchdown. But the back 7 was a total reboot. Yeah. And in much the same way as C.J. Stroud didn't have a lot of experience coming into this game, 6 new starters in the back 7. And not many of them had played much. When you have a true freshman, Denzel Burke, starting the game at cornerback, you have Ronnie Hickman as the bullet linebacker, Tommy Eichenberg. Taraja Mitchell was a senior, but he's never really played a whole lot. He only played like 90 plays all last season or something. And then Josh Proctor was a holdover. Lathan Ransom was the cover safety, and the other corner was Ryan Watts. And then they brought LeJon Cavazos off the bench, and he played a little bit, I think, last year. He didn't play one down last year. So that'll give you an idea of what you were up against a veteran team from Minnesota, veteran quarterback, great running back, 7 seniors or graduate on defense. So to me, was this a perfect game? No. Did Stroud throw an interception? Yes. Did the defense give up some plays? Yes. Not a lot of big plays, though. The longest pass play was 22 yards. They did go up a 56-yard run
on fourth and one.
On 4th and 1 from the 29 to Muhammad Ibrahim. That kind of brought back bad memories of that Maryland game from about 3 years ago when McFarland ran all over them. But at any rate, I'm just trying to set the tone and set the expectations that, yeah, they're ranked the number 4 team in the country for a lot of reasons. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Haskell Garrett, Zach Harrison among them. But there is a soft underbelly to this team, and I use that term. I don't mean it any other way to say that a lot of growing up to do. So,
yeah. And, well, first of all, I think we should mention part of the reason that they were so young in the secondary. Seven Banks didn't play. He did warm up. He was here. He was in uniform. But once they started to do team stuff, he did not go. We don't have an official reason. We do know that he was out in the spring with a knee injury, had surgery, was in and out of spring practice, kind of still being managed with that. When I saw him on the sideline, he was doing some of the individual drills. He bent down on one knee at one point. And I thought at first, is he praying or is he hurt? And then when he didn't go out with the rest of the team, it was pretty obvious that he was hurt. But he was on the sideline. Cameron Brown, who I imagine would be the other starting cornerback if everyone's healthy, did not make the trip. He's obviously coming back from the Achilles injury. He's been banged up. So that's the reason for the young corners. And, as I'm watching that game, and especially once they started to pull away a little bit, I'm thinking of when I went back and scouted Alabama last year before the national championship game. That was a team that had a young secondary early in the year and got better and better throughout the season. The first couple games, they gave up some big plays. Now, this defense has to get better in order to get to that point. And obviously, the track record last year was not great. But when you get these young guys out here, now they've all played in a Big Ten game. They've seen what this is like. It's not just as easy as video games or things like that. You don't just plug these guys in, even if they're 5-star guys all the time, especially when your cornerback has to play on an island. It's tough. And so, yeah, they gave up some big plays. Denzel Burke, they targeted him clearly, but he also made some plays too. And I think they go back into the film, you grow from games like this. And the important thing is you get wins when there are some of those struggles. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No doubt. And I just want to say this is a game that's going to serve Ohio State so well. And they always talk about Earl Bruce. I think they always brought this up, or John Cooper, I don't know, was your team makes more improvement from game 1 to game 2 than it may the entire season, just because there were so many first-time experiences and so many things to teach off of this game and taking poor angles. And let's take that Ibrahim touchdown as an example. You had Javonte Jean-Baptiste, a guy that hasn't played a lot of football. He got sucked inside. You had 15, the bullet, Craig Young. He gets swallowed up by the offensive tackle and gets turned. And so now Ibrahim has basically a clear lane. LeJean Cavazos fills from the backside like he's supposed to. I think in a lot of ways this was like the Maryland play. I think that they shifted the formation and Ohio State was caught flat-footed in that case. And it was 4th down, as we said, which just a crazy situation. They're down 10-0. They're going for it on 4th and 1 from their own 29.
And Ohio State calls a timeout. 4 seconds on the play clock.
So Cavazos comes up and he appears to slip or whiff on the tackle, whatever. And now Ibrahim is off to the races. And Bryson Shaw, thankfully, I think for them, this is one of the first series he played, was able to corral him and stop him from getting to the end zone. It just kind of forestalled the inevitable because they eventually did score. But these are 4 guys that really haven't played much college football, in some cases none. So you're going to have these kind of growing pains and learning experiences with this team.
Yeah, this isn't high school.
No. These guys are learning on the job. I think there's so many great takeaways from this game. Travion Henderson, the running backs. Go ahead.
Real quick, I just want to say, normally when Ohio State opens the season against a MAC school or a non-Power 5 school, you can make these mistakes and it doesn't cost you maybe a 51-yard run or whatever it was. You're able to get there and, make the play even if there is a mistake. And then you go back and you correct it on film and maybe fans don't notice it because it doesn't lead to a big play. This year you're at a Big Ten opponent. You're on the road, as you mentioned, one of the most experienced teams. Yes, they were 3-4 last year, but had a lot of guys that had COVID issues and things like that. So, I think people don't know really the difference between that level of playing a MAC school, playing a team like that, as opposed to starting off with a Big Ten team, which obviously Minnesota doesn't have the same talent as Ohio State, but they have significantly more talent than some of those other teams that they open with. So anyway, we're about to get to some of the positives because I think there were plenty of those. You started with Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams also. Let's see what the stats here for them. Mayan Williams, 125 yards and a touchdown. TreVeyon Henderson, only 15 rushing yards, but he obviously had the big receiving touchdown, 70 yards. Those two guys, each one had a series. I think Mayan Williams had a second series in the first half. They played 4 running backs in the first half. Master Teague, Marcus Crowley also got in there. And at halftime, Teague had the most carries of all the running backs. The second half, until the game was pretty much out of hand, only Mayan Williams and TreVeyon Henderson touched the ball as running backs.
Mm-hmm.
I think that says something. And I don't think we've seen the last of Master Teague. And maybe there's something more beyond that. We didn't get to that with Ryan Day. There were too many other things to talk about. But I do think you've seen a shift. And, maybe it was something that had to be said at halftime. Maybe Tony Alford realized, okay, these are my guys. But what did you see from those two in particular that made the Buckeyes make that shift to those two?
Yeah, I think Mayan Williams kind of caught lightning in a bottle. He, by his own admission, it sounds like he ran the wrong way or was lined up maybe on the wrong side of the quarterback on his long touchdown run, and took it and was able to use his speed to beat the safety to the edge, and then turned the corner and no one caught him, and he put it away, and he was running away from the guys, which
it doesn't always happen. The wrong play turns into a touchdown.
Yeah, we haven't heard a whole lot about him being such a speedy back. You think of him more of as a power guy, low to the ground, rumbling type guy. That was great. TreVeyon Henderson on that play, again, they set that up perfectly because they vacated that side of the field and created a situation where it was kind of one-on-one with TreVeyon Henderson and a linebacker. They threw it over one of the pass rushers, and Henderson caught it. And
good touch throw.
Perfect throw by Stroud to lead him into the perfect running lane. And the next thing you know, you look up as I'm watching that play unfold, I see Jackson Smith-Njigba hit a block, I see Ruckert hit a block, and I see Chris Olave had nailed down the guy out on the perimeter, and he's gone. And he kind of changed lanes a couple times just to avoid some traffic, but he was gone.
Yeah.
And that's what they need to do more with that kid, is get him in space like that any way that they can. And again, it's not rocket science. When you have better, faster X's and O's, you're going to win games. And Ohio State tonight, on how many occasions you just look up and one freak after another has made an amazing play. It looks so easy.
Yeah.
Minnesota took this. Okay, Ohio State led. Then Minnesota took the lead before halftime. It's 14-10. Ohio State regains the lead. You think, okay, it's 17-14. And sanity has returned at Huntington Bank Stadium. No.
Yep.
Minnesota scores and goes ahead 21-17. On the very first play of the next series, Ohio State hits the touchdown pass. I believe it was to Wilson. I guess I could just look at the sheet and I would know. But it was 21-17, and then he hits the pass to Wilson. And then within about 3 minutes after that came that big defensive play that we talk about with Harrison stripping the quarterback in school game. We go to practice and we see him work on this drill ad infinitum. They're coming around the edge. Their bodies are cocked like this, trying to get around the edge.
It's that play right there.
I mean, Harrison described it perfectly, and he gets in there and swats the ball loose and goes right to Garrett and for a touchdown even. And it just Haskell the Rascal, I think, is what the very excitable Gus Johnson referred to him as, and great for him, great story for him.
He now has 2 touchdowns as a defensive tackle. The first one was interception. This is a scoop and score, if you will. But let's go back to Stroud, because I think the fact that he struggled in the first half through the interception, it set up the go-ahead touchdown right before halftime. This is a guy, as you mentioned at the beginning, first start, first throw, first pretty much everything. He still responds to come out and ends the game 13 of 22 passing, 294 yards, 4 touchdowns. Now, some of those he was able to find some wide open receivers, and to be fair, he also missed some wide open receivers. But for a guy that has to start again on the road in the Big Ten, first time, to come back and not let this affect you, not let us, for first half, he admitted that to us, that he wasn't completely dialed in, to not let that affect him and to come out and lead his team to a win. Steve, I think that's pretty impressive. And I know Justin Fields' debut was spectacular, and Dwayne Haskins, had the game against Michigan and things like that. But I think this was a pretty good indicator that the Buckeyes have their guy at quarterback. Now, was it perfect right away? No, but he turned it around in the second half. Big reason they won this game.
At halftime, he was 8 of 14 for 58 yards. So he throws for 240 yards, roughly, 236 yards, I guess, in the second half, and 4 touchdowns in the second half. That's a pretty good day, I think. And as I said, the conditions were worse in the second half. And as he said, he was just kind of in a la-la land in the first half. And one of the reporters asked him about the miscommunication on the interception, and I leaned over to you and said, miscommunication? No, bad throw.
It's just a bad throw.
Bad throw late and behind the receiver over the middle. That's going to get picked about 9 times out of 9. So, yeah, he's going to learn from that one. He's going to learn that Chris Olave is a moving target, and he is a difficult to hit moving target sometimes, timing that up because he's running so fast. So he's a guy that when they get on the same page, it's going to be lights out for a lot of teams.
Yeah, and our Chris Hummer, one of our national guys, tweeted that he sees a lot of Devontae Smith and Chris Olave. Obviously, Devontae Smith won the Heisman last year. I don't know if we want to get into those comparisons, but I think you can see that type of player in him, Alabama's receiver. I saw a question about C.J. Stroud and not a lot of quarterback runs. He's not going to be a guy that they're going to do a ton of that for. They did have one play where he kept it. He did scramble a couple times. He can move. I think you saw that tonight. But he's more of a throw it. He's not Dwayne Haskins' statue in the pocket type, but he's more of a sit back there and throw it type of thing. We also asked if he got sacked. He did not get sacked. Impressive from the offensive line.
3 carries, 13 yards. And to my recollection, I think it was kind of like at least 2, if not all 3 of those, it may have been 3rd and long, and he gets flushed and gets what he can get and salvages it.
And he threw it away a few times, which is maybe Ryan Day's favorite play, to see a quarterback when nothing's there, get outside, throw it away, live to fight another day. He talks about that all the time. A couple more things before we get out of here. I want to just quickly touch on the offensive line. Luke Weipler getting his first start. Harry Miller was unavailable. We don't know any more beyond that. Ryan Day didn't address whether or not he'd be back next week. The rest of the offensive line was this new look with Thayer Munford at guard, Nicholas Petit-Frere at left tackle, Paris Johnson at right guard, and DeJuan Jones at right tackle. No sacks, a lot of rushing yards. I think the offensive line did exactly what you hoped they would do today, don't you?
Yeah, they were opening up some huge holes at times for the running backs, and it was evident. I think, if this is the worst game that they play until whatever the final result of this season is, then we're in, I think, for what's going to be one amazing season, I think, out of this team, because they're going to come back and get into the laboratory and really take a deep dive of what they put on the field, what they want to be, who gives them the best chance to be what they want to be, and they're going to answer some questions. There may be some guys who played a little bit tonight who we don't see again for a while, just because some other guys may get healthy or some other guys will take their spot. So I'm not overly optimistic after watching this game. I'm still cautiously optimistic, but I am very much on the side of thinking that there is still something really special potentially with this team, regardless of how much of a struggle this was to watch this game and for them to play in this game tonight.
Well, and I think, you look at Buckeye teams over the years, some very good Buckeye teams that maybe didn't have the best, early season. Even think of the 2014 team, a weird game against Navy, you lose to Virginia Tech. A quarterback in a similar situation to C.J. Stroud with J.T. Barrett, who hadn't played at all for his case, redshirt freshman. They got better throughout that season, and obviously we know what happened that year. The last thing I want to just mention real quick, Josh Proctor, obviously people saw he got hurt. He was helped to the locker room right away. We don't have an update on him. I'm sure we'll learn more when we meet with Ryan Day early next week. It didn't look great. I don't know if you saw it at all any better, but it didn't look great. I couldn't tell what the injury was. He went down after he made a hard hit. So, we'll see that, but I wanted to address that because obviously I know people are asking. Next week, Oregon, we'll have a normal week with the game on Saturday. So we'll have normal coverage. Coach Day on Monday, Tuesday. What day did we do that now? Tuesday.
It'll be Tuesday.
Tuesday. We did Monday this past week.
I want to read something off for you
for
guys. Let's just count these guys: Jackson Smith-Njigba, Mayan Williams, Luke Whippler, DeJuan Jones. That's
Paris
4.
Johnson.
Well, Paris had started at least one game last year, didn't he?
No, he came in the.
Okay,
in the
Paris
playoffs.
Johnson. That's 5. 5 new starters on offense. Tarajan Mitchell. Now, Teron Vincent in his career, I don't know if he'd ever started. I think he probably did start a game at
He's
some
played
point.
enough.
Lathan Ransom, Ronnie Hickman, Ryan Watts, Denzel Burke, Tommy Eichenberg, and Antoine Jackson. Antoine Jackson has played a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 7 new starters on defense. That's 11 new starters across the 22 here. That'll explain what you saw tonight. I can't put it in black and white for you any more than what I just read to you. You had 11 guys, many of whom had never played, many of whom or at least played meaningful snaps. I mean, just minimal mop-up time in 40-point games. So, that explains what you saw here tonight.
They'll get better. And we'll get better too throughout the course.
We'll try to get better.
We'll try to get better.
We're definitely going to all the games. So, it's going to be what it's going to be.
Yep. We're going to get out of here. We'll have more stuff up on the site. Stay tuned to Bucknuts. Steve, thanks for doing this. I'm Patrick Murphy. We're here for Bucknuts and 247 Sports. We appreciate you guys staying up late with us. We'll have plenty of stuff throughout this week. We'll do probably at least one more of these videos previewing the Oregon game. So stick with us. And we appreciate everything you guys do. Again, thanks for watching. I know it's late for a lot of people. Talk to you guys soon.